Welcome to BE Roundup, ET Brand Equity show where we analyze the marketing and advertising industry every week. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Sachin.
Hello viewers, welcome to a very special episode of Brand Equity Roundup, the year-end special where we take a look back at how 2018 has been for the marketing and advertising fraternity. 2018 has generally been a good year for marketers as such. We have a lot of keywords and trends coming out of the year. The year has given us AI in marketing. The year has given us voice in marketing. The year has given us the changing Indian content consumer and a lot of new trends that have really evolved. At Brand Equity, today we are here to discuss some of the key takeaways of the year and look forward to a new year where we can set ourselves rolling and face the challenges. And today, to help us do that, we are blessed to have a great panel of speakers who will help us analyze how the year has been. And I'll just introduce my panelists. On my extreme right, I have Ms. Meenal Srivastav, VP Marketing, Shalimar Paints. So welcome, ma'am. Welcome, and thank you for being here on the show. On my next right, we have Mr. Rajat Girdhar, Head of Marketing, Shopclose. Welcome, sir, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
On my left, I have Mr. Karan Rajwal, Head of Digital Marketing, Dalmia Bharat Group. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
We have Mr. Shubho Sen Gupta, Digital Marketer per excellence. So welcome, sir, and thank you for gracing the panel. And last but not the least, we have Mr. Prasanna Kumar from Magic Bricks. Thank you, sir, and it is always a pleasure to talk to you. All of you represent different sectors and different genres of marketing and different genres of brands, right? So how the year has been for you and your genre as such, as well as your brand, Shalimar Paints?
I would start off with the brand and the category first and foremost. As in the brand, right now there's tons of work that needs to happen. So we're just starting work on that, and there's a long distance to traverse, before I can be, confident and say that, okay, we've made some difference. The category per se, there were quite a few challenges midway, the dollar price, the petroleum prices, which impacts my category a lot. So that impacted our profitability quite a lot, and that a few quarters we struggled because of that. But now the category as a whole is picking up. With the dollar and the petroleum prices stabilizing, we see the next few quarters being quite positive.
Great.
And on marketing specifically, because I've been a marketer for more than a decade and a half or so, and you mentioned those keywords, so for me, if you ask me to look back and talk about those keywords, I don't think in my sphere I would treat that as important as as influencer marketing, because for me, and I would give you a personal anecdote. I have a 7-year-old son, and I treat both my roles with equal importance, like a mother and a marketer, and I've seen what that has done to him, like content, and the way he's consuming content. And I know all of you would be aware of the highest grosser on YouTube. The content creator is a 7-year-old boy. And honestly, I've seen him grow in front of my eyes, and that has been a substantial change for me, because as a marketer, I realize, how much we need to evolve and grow, and as a generation, I think we have to be constant learners. So yes, technology, and hence with technology comes AI, VR and data, and how you interpret data and all that. But I think this entire set of influencers that have suddenly cropped up, and how as a marketer we are addressing them, that becomes very, very key for me. Right. And for me, in my category as well, that is extremely
right.
critical.
So if I can put it right, so influencer marketing was your keyword for the for the year, right? Great. Moving on to you, Rajat. You represent the behemoth e-commerce is, right, as a industry. So what was your? I mean, I'm sure there would be more than one keywords for you.
Absolutely. So for us, it has been primarily mobile. All of our customers, almost 90% of our orders come from the mobile, largely from the app. So for us, it has been largely marketing to folks who are on the mobile phone. According to some media reports, about we on smartphones in India are spending about 3 hours per day on that device. So largely for us, it has been mobile phone, a big keyword. Second has been a lot of video. The video consumption has really grown in India. So we've done a lot of digital campaigns, digital only campaigns, if I might add that. And the third is vernacular, where we see RTG and a lot of Bharat new people who are coming on the internet are largely non-English speakers. So these are the key trends for me, which is mobile, video, and vernacular.
Right, right. So moving on to you, Karan, right? You represent Dalmia, right? And it's one of the most traditional companies you can see. And you being the head of digital marketing in a large conglomerate. First of all, it's a exciting role. So I'm sure there would be a lot of takeaways for you, right? So how has the year been? And if you can just throw some light on your role as such.
So I think, from what Rajat said, this is the year the promised millions who were supposed to make India's online market, they've come on digital for the first time. Though digital for them doesn't mean the same thing as it does for us. For them, it's cheap data and nearly free content to watch all the time. As these people come in, there are a lot of other things they purchase offline right now. They will continue to make those purchases like that because there are many other challenges that need to be solved. But what is occurring is that every time they think of buying something, now they have something in their hand that they're used to giving them answers to things they had to search by going to a physical location earlier. That I think will change the way a lot of these consumers interact with marketing and pre-sales levels of information and how they make their purchasing decisions. So I guess for our category, for my brand, it will always be about making things ready for this to happen. It's very easy to say that a certain category today does not purchase products online, or there is no way you can send something which weighs 50 kilos and send it using an e-commerce delivery ecosystem. But there are other ways in which omni-channel has been a word which has been bandied about for a number of years now. Now something like that will become possible for the first time, where somebody who's a traditional customer, maybe bottom or middle of the pyramid, now has access to something where he's online for the first time. He can look for things, vernacular as it comes up, the amount of content that's available there. So, while it's the stories and the songs and, humor which is leading the way, but it's getting the consumer into getting to consume all kinds of data. Marketeers need to build their bandwidth and become not digital first, but present on it as much as they are present on other mediums, because it's not just about that I am a digital marketer, so it is my remit to do so, or a CMO somewhere thinks digital is the cool new thing. What is more important now is, are you building your capabilities for the next 10 years? There have been enough case studies, but we were only looking at about 250 million consumers in the tier 1 markets, educated, they know what a mobile operating system is, how it works. But all of these new consumers that are coming in, I think the promised millions are now here. Now it's up to us as marketeers, how do we build that capability, how we present when these guys are looking for something, maybe they don't know what the right search keywords are. They define that for us and we are present when they look for that.
Great. So it's a confluence of content we are seeing. So we are seeing influencer marketing. We are seeing mobile as a mobile first thing, right? Shubho sir, how has it been? You have seen the digital marketing industry as such, sector as such grow in front of you, right? So what are your assessments?
Well, the biggest thing in 2018 has been Me Too, right?
True.
I mean, it's
Content,
not exactly
right?
marketing, but it's really use the power of digital, social,
Right.
whatever you call it, in a
True.
very positive way to kind of really move the furniture around the room. Okay, I
Right.
mean, whichever way you look at it. So I can't think of any other digital event
Right.
shaking
strong
up
as this.
India. It took some time to come to India.
Right.
So I think it's the year of Me Too,
Right.
2018. There's no doubt about it.
Right.
Outside that, in marketing, I think I broadly agree with the co-panelists talking about this. Voice 2019. I'm very curious to see how voice pans out in 2019.
Right.
I'm very, is it going to bring the next 300, 400 million online? Is it
Right.
going to open up regional markets?
Mhm.
That's the exciting thing. And it's
Right.
not just 2019 and beyond, like he was saying.
Right.
Right. So I have very high, I'm very, high hopes on that area. And we were discussing a little while ago, I'm a little disappointed with the way creative has happened in the last couple of years. I think ad agencies have failed more or less, with some honorable exceptions. Okay, but the good thing is, everyone is, talking beyond Excel sheets, looking at ad techs. Especially, I consult with some small businesses. They're all talking ad tech, thinking beyond one Facebook something or one, the usual suspects in a media plan kind of thing. Okay, how does ROI, how does technology impact ROI?
Right.
So even small businesses are where it's happening really. Okay,
True,
the big
true.
guys, progressive guys with a lot of big wallets will take the usual calls, right? But it's the small businesses who are the bellwether for the way the industry is moving. And I see hear a lot of them talking about
Right. To put it
technology,
interestingly, I think the
etc.
narrative of ROI is already changing, right? How to gauge that ROI and how to measure that ROI, right? Prasun sir, real estate, right? It's a sector where it has been always topsy-turvy, right? So how has it been? And as a marketer, leading that brand in India.
Well, online real estate, if you see, has not been very, very different in terms of the way it has experienced the changes that have happened around, from other categories as against other categories. This year started with a lot of promise. We all heard about the 3 V's becoming very big: video, vernacular, and voice. A lot of, all co-panelists spoke about that. From our experience, we have seen out of these 3, video really taking off and really starting to deliver on ROI front as well now. And I think that's been a welcome development. Vernacular and voice, we are yet to experience. Though I must tell you that contrary to what popular perception would be, if you go to any popular portal, including ours, you would see people from small towns in Bihar, in Chhattisgarh, and states alike, posting their properties online for buy and sell, right? So that behavior is already settling in, and somewhere down the line, a lot of consumers, the next millennial that he was talking about, the next 100 million, they've started experimenting with, everything which is online and how to, use it and how to take that forward. So yes, video has, become big. Vernacular and voice is yet to. We are yet to see, some strong case studies emerging out of, the other two. Other buzzwords, including marketing automation and AI and all those kind of things, I still think they are some time away, and we still have to see a lot of development and use cases happening over there before we can really say that they are going to impact marketing as such. From our perspective, we have also seen a lot of traditional channels. Email marketing, for example, the good old daddy of digital marketing still performs, and it performs rather well, right? She spoke about influencer marketing, right? Though I have been a bit, disappointed on that front because, it has not worked to our advantage as much. But I'm sure some of these trends are the ones which, probably have evolved this year a little more, and, have shaped how marketing, has been conducted by and large. But there's one more thing that has happened significantly, which is storytelling from an advertising marketing point of view has moved online now, right? If you see 2018, you would hardly recall a campaign that would have been done on television or any other medium where there was true storytelling that was happening, right? It has been very, very functional, ROI driven, kind of tactical campaigns that you would see all around. But if you see digital, some of the good campaigns, Hyundai's campaign became very viral, and a lot of other campaigns, to say so. So storytellers are increasingly moving online, and so the power of video, they're harnessing and using that power of video. And I think that's one big shift, and that will have lots of implications going forward. He mentioned about, Shubho mentioned about how advertising agencies per se and that entire structure is going to, kind of change. I think this is going to really, really, kind of put a big question in front of them and really question their, ability to deliver to brands in terms of where consumers are and what they're consuming, and our agencies are ready to deliver on those accounts. A lot of agencies, to my mind, are still very, very structured in a very old-fashioned manner. While there's a lot of lip service to a lot of new things happening, but the real delivery, I think, is far from, what it has to be.
Great. So one connecting dot that I can draw from all your conclusions is that the consumer is changing, right? The way that content was being consumed, say 5 years ago, is changing, right? So we have seen the proliferance of subscription models, right? We have also seen subscription based model coming up in news content. How have you seen the content consumer change, right? I know you mentioned about vernacular, you mentioned about how video is being changing, but the overall the consumer going to digital and finding his content needs. So how has it been, and how can it shape the year coming by?
Well, I think consumers have started looking for more content. That's one critical factor, because as and when people are coming online, and they are kind of getting exposed to and exploring newer formats of content and new kind of content, they are getting hungrier for more. And I think that's going to be a defining parameter for a lot of marketeers, in terms of brands' ability to churn out content continuously for consumers, because and let's take example of real estate, where the decision making is a long gestation period, and 8 to 9 months, and consumers do a thorough research for 4 to 5 months before they take a decision to move ahead. During that research phase, the kind of content and the amount of content we have seen consumers consuming and asking for has also led to a lot of innovations happening. For example, there are a lot of video based innovations that are happening. We have started a digital television channel, to say so, which is MBTV, where we are giving content to consumers in a different format, and they're very, very encouraging results that we see. So I think content consumption is fundamentally changing, one in terms of the sheer volume of consumption, and two in terms of new formats emerging for consumption. And I think proliferation of 4G, thanks to Jio's efforts in that direction as well, has led to a lot of these new formats emerging now and getting solidified. So hopefully all of these will settle down as some sort of habit and behavior, which is what all marketers kind of want. And therefore brands will be able to layer on top of that some meaningful experiences for consumers,
Right.
Which will help consumers at the end of the day.
Right. So this leads actually to my next question, which is around content marketing, right? A lot has been spoken about content marketing, but the fundamentals of advertising and content marketing are all the same. Advertising is how good your content is, right? Your good advertising is how good your content is, right? So maybe I'll start with you, Meenal. Shalimar Paints has been a traditional company, and traditional advertising. You're known for it. You mentioned influencer marketing, but I'm sure there was content in it, right? So how do you see this? How do you see content marketing evolve, right? And especially for a category like yours.
It's a very exciting time to be in right now, when
Right.
content, more than the platform on which that content is being aired, so digital or television or mobile or WhatsApp, whatever it is, it's the way it is being created. So the consumer himself is a creator. So when I talked about influencer marketing, it's exactly that consumer is himself creating content, and he's creating it with a different sort of a background, and a different sort of a everybody has a different sort of a background to his life, and and to the brand, and he's building a brand of himself. Now in that thing, you need to force fit your brand and figure out what story you want to tell in there, which is relevant to his audience and to yours. So that's a very interesting thing, because what this has done is essentially, it has democratized building a brand to a large extent. Because in the conventional way, earlier, what marketing was, you would create a content which syncs with what you want your brand to stand for. You would pick up a platform depending on whatever, sort of budgets you have. A conventional marketer, that is what he or she would do. And then you would air it, so that means you will create content and you will push it into the world, and then you will see how it's being taken, and then you see and grow it from there. But now what this has led to is, each influencer is a set, and you can handpick your mini subset of consumers that you want to reach out to, tailor your content according to that, so you need not be like a big spender on television or, any of the digital media, platforms, but you can own a certain sect of it out of that. So, so what it has done, I think, is revolutionary to a large extent, because, for example, what Apple did was democratized computing. eBay did democratized commerce, and this thing has democratized almost building a brand, so like a small retailer that he was saying, he's not dependent on a big media channel. He can figure out, okay, this is my market, these are the set of people that I want to, work with, and this is the sort of content that I can create with him together, and this is what it'll lead me to. So that's a very interesting, and for me specifically, because I'm a very minuscule in my category. I'm right now, struggling to just inch my way back in, and in that space, I do not have that sort of, my P&L will not support that sort of spend that the biggies in the category are doing. So what do I do? So hence I might, it makes sense for me to use an opportunity like this, and push it forward.
Right. True. So I'll connect that to your point about the ad agencies, sir. So we're seeing more brands becoming content publishers and content owners now, right? We have seen that already happen in the West with Red Bull and stuff like that. I think it has started to happen in this country, right? Is this the reason why ad agencies are getting irrelevant, if I can say so?
Every week I get about 2-3 phone calls from friends, brand managers, marketing managers, saying the same thing, which is our agency doesn't have speed, it doesn't have scale. Especially for pan India operators, like ShopClues, whatever, they need to reach out to every corner of the country. It's not one guy sitting in South Delhi, right? So what I'm seeing, a lot of there are these small content creators, whether you call them a production agency or an ad agency or a freelancer, doesn't matter. But, a template has been set and they're kind of getting content from everywhere, to a central hub, right? And it's, we're not talking about a TV ad, we're talking about 10 films a day,
True.
on whatever, various social media platforms. In fact, if you follow the governments, state governments, central governments, are one of the biggest producers of video. They've gotten onto it pretty well. I mean, if you look at mygov.in, the beneficiaries of various government schemes, for example, these are all stories told on the video narrative. I think they're doing a good job. A couple of state governments also, I don't want to, drag on.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, it's speed and scale which the traditional agency, even the traditional big digital agency cannot deliver. It's the lots of smaller guys. I'm sure you commission a lot of smaller people to do very quick, fast films, which
Right.
I mean, even if 60-70% of them work, it's good.
Right. Yeah. Please.
It's traditionally been, you want to make a film and you speak to the advertising agency and you see dollar signs in their eyes. What they do not realize today is there's stock photography available. There are people who are available who can basically just pick up a single DSLR camera, have a jib. You don't need the entire setup. We are shooting with a certain setup here. 5 years down the line, you and me could be talking at the side of the road where somebody is just pointing a mobile at us and is doing an equally fabulous job of the quality that we need to produce. When I see the time, the cost and the effort that needs to go into bringing something, and I need to do it 10 times over in a quarter, I simply cannot work with the same infrastructure that I've had for these years. Agencies have always believed in having a set retainer and having, X number of deliverables against it and, this percentage of time and all of those things. Do I deal with all of that red tape, so to speak, or do I speak with a guy, tell him what I need, take him with me, give him my brief, and then he knows what he has to create, and within 2 days I'm done. So, that is something I have to start thinking about today, because for me, it is about creating those X number of pieces, because like she said, there are so many of these pockets that you want to reach out to, and people, depending on their education, their background, what their intent, what they're searching for, they could be searching for a million things. You've got to solve for each of them as you go along, and you have to satisfy those needs. If you are not doing that, somebody else is, and the consumer moves there.
Right.
The other thing that will change, when you were talking about subscriptions, one of the things that's not happened in India now, but will happen as we go forward, is micropayments. We have this entire wallet infrastructure that's coming in, and people are increasingly using it. So today, if I say somebody has to buy an Amazon Prime or Netflix, and I say, it's at a price point where most of my middle of the pyramid, bottom of the pyramid customers won't, children who want to watch specialized content, they can't. But if you offer something to them at 3 rupees, 5 rupees, 20 rupees, is there a market for that? Is that person, does he have a wallet today? I think that answer is yes. And you will see even on print media that, okay, you can't subscribe to me for $1,000 a year. Can you give me $10 for this story? It sounds very cheap today. How can, a huge brand go out and ask somebody for $10 for something? But you scale that across the millions of consumers that we have, and your entire business ecosystem changes. And India has to be different from what has happened in the West.
Right.
Amazon or Netflix or any of these larger players, they cannot continue to function in the same way they've behaved in matured markets. Our market is fundamentally different. People don't want to pay. If they want to pay, they want to pay a very low price. So you basically get your top line and your bottom line from the breadth of the market and the depth of the market, rather than just saying, I have, 1 point so many billion people in India, so I have a huge market. That answer is not there yet.
Right. It's,
Can I present?
yeah, please. No, please.
So, it's coming out of something that I called cacophony of content. Okay. Now, because of the low entry barriers of producing content now, not every content is a worthy content, right? And so, coming to the role of advertising agencies and whether they'll become irrelevant or not, I think they will have a place, and there is a place for them. Ultimately, brands do not want to produce any kind of content, right? Brands have a specific objective. They want to produce content in a certain manner, of a certain quality, with certain production value, etc. And that will always be there, right? And so, and there will always be a cost attached to that, no matter what, and therefore, while I do agree with Shubho that, the current structure of the way, agencies are, operating, that will go, probably fundamental shift, but they're not going to go away. They'll come back, and there'll be a new avatar of them, and which will be more tailored to the, requirements of today's consumers and what brands want.
Right.
But, they'll not be dead.
True.
So
And
to,
not
add-
to be very harsh on them, I think they are actually changing. A lot of digital guys are at the helm of agencies who are trying to change the structure. I'm sorry.
No, so to add on to that, it's not exactly agency versus, brand, and what you're doing. I think as a community, and I mean marketers as a whole, I think we've gone that, taken that change and that shift where, that verticalization is dead, and you need to realize that. And me as a business person, for me, for example, conventionally you used to think of work, push it out as a brief, and work used to come in, and then you would evaluate and, create it and then push it back again. That doesn't exist because you don't have that space to do it anymore, right? Because a marketeer is a business person, and that differentiation has reduced with time because between sales, service and marketing/advertising, earlier marketing was equivalent to advertising. But for me now, all of it is joined at the hip, so whatever, whether it's content that you're pushing or a consumer experience that you're pushing, everything is linked together. Now, whether the agency is doing it for you or you have these content creators, like you say, but content is just a piece of the puzzle. There's so much more that's happening at the back end, which is helping enhance business. So yes, agencies will have a space, but I'm really not too sure, because with technology, while they figured out, what to work on, but I think that how to work on needs to be, strengthened further. Because it needs to be very now, it has to happen now. It has to be integrated, that compelling stories have to be told, and it has to happen right away. So that I agree, it's missing from the agency side for sure. So one thing is getting it in-house, all of it, but even that is not happening. That won't happen in the short run because I have to run a business. There are multiple other things that I'm, worried about. So who do I partner with? And that's why again I come back to my favorite topic. Are there people who out there, open to partner with me? But then again, as a brand, I need to figure out who do I sync with, as a DNA of what my DNA is, and who do I, want to partner with. So.
Vidit, you have been, you have both the backgrounds, right? Agency to brand and, and especially digital expertise. What's your take?
Yeah, so the siloization of the whole ad agencies where media got siloized into one and creative got siloized into one, I think that is breaking. And that will break. You look at the new company that Sir Martin Sorrell has bought. It's a technology come media company. So I think, and you look at the new, and if you look at the most growing agency in the world, which one it is? That one is Accenture. So Accenture is an agency which is the most the highest growing advertising media technology agencies in the world.
Right.
So I think sooner or later everybody is realizing they'll have to get technology, and the siloization of media and creative has to break, because you need very quick inputs from the media point of view and then change the creative. And to change the creative on the fly, you need technology. So the technology, media and creative is coming together. The big companies which will not come together will kind of break away. That is my sense in terms of how I'm reading it.
Right. Right. So in this, we have spoken about content, we have spoken about influencer, right? How has the role of a marketer changed? So I'll again start with you, sir. How has the role of a marketer changed in this year?
Well, marketers are under increasing pressure of ROI, right? And that's nothing new.
Right.
So it's not changed. But with hyper competition settling in, and with technology almost making it, almost disrupting and making it very, very easy, for a lot of startups to happen and a lot of ideas to, come to consumers faster than what they could have been. Marketers are under increasing pressure to think ahead of the curve, and to think of solutions which can deliver better ROI than what it was delivering a day ago.
Right.
And so that's one growing trend that will not stop. And so the risk that we also run at the same point of time is this increasing ROI driven marketing. Probably somewhere down the line would lead us to a place where everything again will become so commoditized in a sense that everyone will be doing almost same thing, and there'll be hardly any differentiation left between various brands, which was the classic old case of where the classic old case of advertising started. And so I think storytelling will also come back in a different avatar though, in different form though. So marketers will have to strike this balance between the increasing pressure of ROI, at the same point of time also investing enough behind brands, from a long-term, sustainability point of view.
Right. What do you mean? What's your take as because you have seen influencer marketing work for you, and you have seen how things are changing, right, from traditional to digital, and we just spoke about content.
So I think marketers are going through an identity crisis right now, honestly, if you ask me. And I'm saying that because I represent a smallish brand, like with a big legacy, but somebody who's wanting to really, take big steps. Now in that, while I'm wearing a marketing hat, I am also a business person, right? So for me, my differentiation between sales, service, marketing does not exist. So I think it's true for almost every other marketer here, because conventionally it was marketing is advertising, which is not true anymore. Marketing is business, and you have to deliver on business, and how do you do it is what needs to, addressed currently. And there are various avenues, there are various ways in which you can do it, but it definitely is not like one formula that usually marketers were used to. So yes, it's become much more difficult, because I think we got addicted to a couple of options on a hand, and conventionally a good marketer would be a good psychologist, because he has to know about consumer behavior.
Right.
He would be adept at sociology.
Right.
But today, if you ask me, a good marketer is a data scientist, because there's tons of data out there. What do I do with it? Currently, there is more than enough, and I need to make sense out of it. Has to be adept at technology, and a constant learner, somebody who evolves, like I told you, my 7-year-old son, I think, is much more faster than I am, so it puts me under a lot of pressure, because he is my consumer at the end of the day, and the way he's consuming media, the way he's, and learning things, I need to keep up pace with him.
Right.
So as a marketer, I think I keep getting challenged like almost every day, which was not the case, I think, a decade ago or so, because a decade ago it was about, okay, this is the entire spectrum of things available, and this is media planning, you learn media planning, these are the tools, I learn the tools, and I know this is the data that comes to me, and this is how I interpret the data. But right now there's so much available in the market that there's a constant struggle to really absorb what exists and then make sense out of it.
Right. Great. Karan, it's interesting because you are leading digital marketing for a very traditional company, right? So how has your role been for this year, and what are the specific challenges that you faced?
I've had a rather interesting year. I've worked, for the most of the year in a company which is marketing to Fortune 500 CXOs around the world, and then coming to an industry and a category where I'm looking at people who are probably building a house in a tier 2, 3, 4 city, and these are very different consumption behaviors. So from the most advanced to the most, first steps kind of a process that is occurring right now. For me, I think it's more about how the tools that I use in my arsenal, how that is changing. 2 to 3 years ago, even if I shouted from the rooftop, how many likes you have does not translate to anything. Nobody would hear me out. But today people know that, okay, maybe page likes is not something I have to, invest in. Today, what is important for me is how do I create, marketing related content on an ongoing basis, where from the time the business thinks about an opportunity to the time that goes out in the market. And, we have an example from e-commerce here. The kind of things that are being bought today may change as per fashion. Whereas in my case, I know my category people are still going to buy the same thing. How do I make it more relevant for them when they're looking for it? And, the ways and means by which this will happen will astound you. Like she was saying, you look at data. So I look at a certain keyword and I say, okay, this is the top 5 keywords I want to look at. But people are looking for very, very different things in very many different ways. They don't know English, they don't know Hindi, the languages we solve for right now. They're probably searching in Assamese and Oriya or, a Kannada. What are the things that are available to them? If they are not available today, India is not a homogeneous market. So for me, my focus, my role changes. One, in ensuring that there is something at the base level that I'm creating for these different pockets. Second, anything that I produce, there has to be media muscle behind it. I simply cannot say I have created something, I've put it on my social media channel, and I have so many likes on my page and I'm done. That's not going to cut it anymore 6 months down the line. So all this ego massage that a lot of marketeers have had for the past 5 years at least, that we did X many things on social media, that's not going to cut it anymore.
So, as we near the end, let's, do a fun round, right? Let's do a rapid fire kind of thing. So I'll just say, one keyword and please tell me whatever comes in your mind. So, right? So, sir, I'll start with you, right? Influencer marketing,
Doesn't work.
AI in marketing,
Confirms just our biases at this time, doesn't really give any data of value.
mobile marketing,
I think mobile marketing is no more, good to do. It's must to do. Our consumers are there. Consumers are coming on, are just getting on mobile. They haven't seen a laptop before.
Right.
Mobile is the first screen that they're coming on.
Uh-huh.
So mobile marketing, I think, will be just marketing in a few years.
Right. Traditional advertising.
Is dead.
Great. And in the same round, let's just look at the year 2019, how it has been, how it can be, right? So just one sentences about what to expect from 2019. Again, it's the same round. I'll start from you, sir.
2019 to me would be further consolidation of videos as the primary tool or primary vehicle of consumer engagement and ROI delivery as well. I think performance marketing, some channels of performance marketing are also going to become extremely important and will evolve even more. Having said that, I also think storytelling is going to come back, in a big way. For the past couple of years, we haven't seen that happening, but I do think with all the brands with so little to differentiate between them, that's going to come back in a new avatar. So I am really looking forward to that in 2019.
So you're taking.
I think there'll be a serious, marriage of traditional old media and new media. It's already happening. If you see the Prime Minister's Mann Ki Baat, it's digital and radio, something as old-fashioned as radio. And I think brands, other area, companies will start getting into marrying these two. Yeah.
So I think marketing and advertising has been due for a big bang moment for a long time. The epithet snake oil salesman has been fit on us. And now with the means of production, them being democratized, I think it is truly a time where small teams with a limited amount of resources can create something truly outstanding. The storytelling aspect that we've been talking about, what is it that will come out from the traditional agencies is the ability to tell a great story, something which people haven't thought about for a certain category, a certain product or a brand, that will come through. Hopefully, we'll have more content for consumers in their own language, presented to them in a style that they appreciate. Marketeers typically want things to their own taste, maybe care about the consumer later. So I think that democratization of what popular culture is will come to the advertising and marketing side as well, and that should really help.
Great. Rajat, your take.
Yeah, my sense is it will be in a year of content. If you see the top 5 apps on the Play Store, all are short video format apps, and they've been there for a while. Look at a TikTok or any second, third app, it's a short format. They will get some pressure to monetize. All of them have raised millions of dollars. And there are like 10 more Indian vernacular apps, which have raised again billions of dollars. All of them will have got a lot of users, now will try and monetize. So my sense is it will be an year of content where a lot of people who are getting on internet, WeChat isn't, or let's say in China, WeChat is internet for them. In India, these platforms, a WhatsApp or a platform like a TikTok or a ShareChat is internet for them. So there will be a lot of pilots run on that in terms of how does content lead to transaction, how do brand, traditional, non-traditional integrate with these content pieces, etc. And I agree, storytelling will never go out of fashion. You look at the new Nescafe Gold ad. I mean, it gives you goosebumps when you see that on TV. That will never go out of fashion.
So I won't give you a typical marketing answer.
Please do.
2019 would definitely be chaos. And I think the task for each one of us individually would be to find the opportunity in that chaos. And we've seen that happen in 2018, and we've seen, and 2019 won't be any different in the sense that unexpected things would happen. And as a business person, you'll just need to figure out your window of opportunity and, take advantage of it. We saw it in 2018, like a wink could make somebody a celebrity, and as a brand, are you willing to take risks and do that, take advantage of it? So I think the next thing for 2019 would be the ability and the willingness to take risks. If you have that appetite and if you have the stomach to do it, I think there's no, like I said, the conventional way of doing business doesn't exist anymore. So somebody, and I mean any brand, any marketing person, if he's brave enough, and has the appetite to take risks, he can make a difference. And that making the difference thing, what I've realized is the gestation period of building a brand, and why I'm saying it is because I am, at the helm of a brand which needs to come back, and has to get back, almost literally build itself from scratch. So, the gestation period I feel has shortened, because if you do the right things and right you cannot define, like sitting here, I don't know what 2019 will bring, so the definition of right and wrong is very murky right now, so I think that's the next big thing in 2019, how often can you take risks and can you differentiate which is worth risk taking, or do you shy away from it? But if you are willing to take that risk, I think there's no stopping you. You can fight the biggies, and I am fighting the biggies in my category. But I hope if I am willing to do the right things and take the risks, I can bridge the gap a little sooner than
Sure. So on that note, I think we have summarized the year well, right? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your inputs, and I think it'll really help our viewers, face the challenges, as you said, chaos, right? That 2019 has in offer. So thank you for watching us. Wishing you all a very happy new year and season's greetings from ET Brand Equity. And until we meet again, keep reading us. Thank you.